Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of How Would You Slice That? If you're not familiar with the show, we are live every Tuesday. That is a prime number, like 11. And we try to balance some community discussion, visiting time with discussions on slicing tips, tricks, and strategies. So my name is Vicky Soma. I'm coming to you from Occoquan, Virginia. And with me, as always, is my host, co-host Lawrence Nightingale.
Hey, Vicky, how are you tonight?
I am doing great. I'm just excited to be back. We've had quite a hiatus, didn't we?
Yes, a whole entire month. Can you believe
it?
Oh my gosh, yes. But I'm glad to be back and talking about 3D printing with you. And so looking forward to tonight's guest as well.
So what have you been getting up to this past 4 weeks?
The past 4 weeks, I have been working on math ideas, and so I went to Goodwill looking for math games, right, to use on the college campus, and I bought a game called Block the Box, which is a math game. And so what it is that what you do is you take 2 dice and you roll your dice, and if you come up with like a 7, you have the option of doing 3 and 4 together, or 2 and 5, and so on. And so what happens is every time you roll the dice, you knock down one of the tabs, and then once you can no longer knock any down, then you add up all your numbers, and the person with the lowest score wins. And so I got the game. It was made of wood, and then I went onto Bamboo Studio or to Maker World, and I printed up 4 or 5 copies, because we're going to have a Block the Box tournament at Nova to help people, find ways to engage with math and talk about math and really just be a little bit more open and encouraged to investigate math as part of their academic development. So that is what I've been doing. I 3D printed things for college classes, for college students. And I also, on Monday, I did a presentation for Women's History Month at Germanna Community College about the findings of my dissertation research, particularly the intersection between 3D printing in an accessible, low-risk setting, and how it helps women to develop an identity within STEM study. So a couple different things I've done with 3D printing this week.
I prematurely shared my screen.
It's okay.
One of the challenges that I have is a lot of times I'm working on custom ornaments that's going to be a surprise or gift for someone, and I happen to have one that the recipient already received, so surprise is done. But I do a lot of ornaments of wedding venues or like little houses, like little replicas. And if you look really, really closely, you'll see I have some stringing to clean up here. But this is actually my aunt reached out to me, and this is my aunt and uncle's house, and she wanted to surprise my uncle. But it took me so long to do it that I got to surprise my aunt too, because she forgot it was in
your inbox. Yeah. Wow. And so is this where's this house located? I'm seeing some panels at the bottom of the windows, which doesn't let me think that it's from here in Virginia.
It's close. It's still in the Maryland. It's Maryland.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
It's just a nice house.
Yes, it is. And you used it looks like a marble filament.
That would be printed solid vanilla bean, which is one of my favorites.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And I like the way that you were able to get the siding lines.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That looks like it took quite a while to design.
I've got a little system going with, and I've done so many buildings at this point, so I already have like templates for stonework and templates for brickwork and siding, like you mentioned. So
wow,
it's just as like cutting them out to the right size to put them on the structure.
Excellent. Wow. Well, you've gotten a lot done this week.
Well, I mean, it wasn't all since our last show. Not all in one week.
Yeah. Oh, since the last show. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, how do you think about feeling about us getting on to our guest?
I think that's a great idea.
All right. So everybody watching, just extra kudos to our guest tonight who is joining us from Denmark, and it is 1:06 a.m. his time. So he is a trooper here. So like me and like Lawrence, our guest tonight, he loves the outdoors and he particularly fancies skiing and swimming. And also like me and Lawrence, he finds himself fascinated by the flexibility and the power of 3D printing, as I'm sure many of you watching feel that way too. But I would venture that his 3D printing journey and his process deviates a little bit from what we experience. At the age of 2, our guest tonight lost his eyesight to an autoimmune disease. So everything he's accomplished and everything he talks about tonight, he's done fully blind.
Wow.
And it's as makers, we often have to we have to come up with creative solutions and workarounds to the obstacles and challenges that we run into. And so in that vein, I would kind of dub our guest tonight the ultimate maker. He describes himself as the MacGyver of the blind world. So we'll see tonight through trial and error and stringing together AI tools, open SCAD, screen readers, a few of the slicers out there that are accessible. He not only independently 3D prints objects, but he's also designing his own 3D models. You may have read about his work on Hackaday or 3dprintingindustry.com, or maybe you've come across his own website, which is accessible3d.io. He hopes to inspire others to follow in his footsteps, to combine innovation with determination, and hopefully that's how you'll leave after this episode. So tonight we are welcoming Edis from accessible3d.io. Hello, Edis.
Hey, Edis.
Hey there. Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's really, really a great honor. And I'm stoked to be here.
Wonderful. Is there anything I left out in the introduction that you want to hit on?
No, I think that was really, really well done.
Excellent.
Actually, I don't know if I wrote that anywhere, but I really love the outdoors, as you mentioned. And actually, back in 2023, in July, I walked the Camino, Camino France, the French Camino, from a small French town called Saint-Jean and all the way to Santiago. And the cool thing about that was that I did that on my own, just armed with my talking phone and a cane for the blind. And then the reason why this was possible was because I asked for a lot of help, and I think that reflects pretty much on the 3D journey that I'm on as well, because I meet a lot of friendly and helpful people, and I'll talk about that a lot in a bit later. So it's great.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, asking for help, that really the 3D printing community, for those of us who are serious about helping other people, that's how a lot of us got started and have been supported and still retain our sanity after 3D printing for a while. So it works for everybody. Yeah. So Edis, how did you get started with 3D printing?
It's kind of a very I think it's kind of a funny story, because so I work within assistive technology, and it's mainly aimed at blind and visually impaired people. I do some like a digital like web accessibility, a digital accessibility, do audits and stuff like that. So in 23, I was participating in a just one-day workshop on how 3D printing could be utilized in relation to blind and visually impaired people. And it was run by the Institute for Blind and Visually Impaired People in Denmark. And the odd thing was that there were no blind or visually impaired people there except me everyone else, all the participants, they were sighted, and
Hmm.
I quickly got extremely excited about like the idea of being able to, you know, produce stuff that you can actually use in your daily life. I mean,
Yes.
if you take a cane for the blind, for instance, if you take that as an example, right now, if you like break the cane,
Hmm.
you'll have to buy a new one. But
Hmm.
with 3D printing, I mean, you would be able to print the broken part. Um,
Absolutely. And you wouldn't have to wait for it to be delivered to you either.
E- exactly. And you wouldn't have, I mean, I don't know what it's like in the US, but in Denmark, um, such assistive aids are usually granted to you by the state. But
Hmm.
depending on where you live, that process can take from 2 days to 2 months. And it's kind of
Hmm.
difficult to be stuck in your home without a cane for 2 months. So, yeah,
Wow. And as you really just touched on what are the biggest strengths of the technology of 3D printing, which is speed of shortening up the supply chain,
yeah.
um, and also to a certain degree customization.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And I
yeah.
mean, if you think about it from a blind perspective like myself, I mean, suddenly I'm able to, let's say when I go traveling, I mean, so when I go to a new country and let's say I'm visiting Paris and we're going to the Eiffel Tower or something like that, I
Hmm.
can print out a model of the Eiffel Tower beforehand to get an
Hmm.
idea tactilely of what are we actually experiencing.
Hmm.
That is just, I mean, that's just incredible. I think
I,
that's
I I I definitely, well, I mean, thank you for saying that. And I've had an intersection with help with 3D printing visual aids for visually impaired students, blind students, in
Mhm.
the early part of my 3D printing journey.
Yeah,
So, yes, yes, yes. My students at Nova, we printed something on the order of 300 3D printed learning aids we printed braille dice, we printed topographic maps,
yeah,
we printed a multiplication table that rose from one was like the level was the lowest level all the way up to 100, so somebody
yeah,
could feel the different heights
yeah.
to represent the numbers.
No,
So
exactly. It
yeah,
has so
so
many potential, like amazing use cases. Not just like, I mean, you can be creative and do creative stuff as well without having I mean, the hassle of tinkering with saws and
yeah,
tools that could potentially hurt yourself. I mean,
yeah.
that's fascinating too. But yeah,
That's another set of challenges.
yeah,
Wow. And so what was the first thing that you printed, Edis, once you learned this technology
yeah.
was
So
that was
actually,
something you were interested in?
yeah. So what I did, I mean, first of all, this was back in September 2023, and then I did quite a lot of research um, and ended up applying for some grants that actually paid my first 3D printer because I wasn't going to like spend a lot of money on a machine that I wasn't sure if I could use. So I got the Bamboo Lab X1 carbon,
Mhm.
and I just basically started printing out models from Maker World. And of
Mhm.
course, I mean, my first model ever that I printed was of course the Benchy, and
Oh. Ah.
I was stalking your Instagram, getting ready to grab like whatever you said, but there's no bench. Everybody can imagine a benchy, I think.
Everybody, yeah, yeah. Most
yeah.
people have
So
benchy
so
before.
yeah, I printed that, but quickly I like the second thing I printed then was Hogwarts from Harry Potter because I'm a
Oh.
huge fantasy nerd and you know getting the possibility of having that extra dimension for
Mhm.
reading the books and listening to the movies and watching the movies and all that and suddenly be
Mhm.
able to feel like some of the very important landmarks pieces whatever you like to call it from the movie. I mean that's just it was just incredible.
Wow.
Um,
And when you were able to print these models, well, we were able to print Hogwarts and the Benchy. What the most of us who 3D print, we talk about layer lines,
yeah.
and so how do layer lines strike you tactily?
Well, actually, they have to be extremely rough, I would say, in order to be able to feel them, I think. And also, I mean, especially with the Benchy, I remember I have a good friend that helped me, and he said like in the like inside of the cabin, you know, the cabin of the boat, there
Mm-hmm.
were some layer lines visible there, but you can't really enter. Like you
Feel
cannot put
them,
your fingers in there.
right?
So I'm blissfully ignorant. um, but yeah, I think the Bamboo Lab printer has made it so accessible for me. And of course, I mean, a while back I did my first a multicolored design, my own design, and of course I'm very aware and interested in the like visual aspect of it because
Mm-hmm.
I mean I want to make something that is tactily and visually appealing at the same time.
Oh wow.
Um, so I'm definitely aware and interested in optimizing my prints, and I'm doing a lot of like playing around with slicing and
Mm-hmm.
changing layer heights and brim supports and supports in general, and
Mm-hmm.
um, speed and yeah, that kind of stuff. It's a very um, big and complex world, I would say, especially when you have this small obstacle of not being able to see what the heck you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kind of textures appeal to you? What kind of textures do
Yeah,
you?
actually, so it's kind of interesting because when I make models myself,
Mhm.
I first of all try to utilize almost the entire build plate.
Oh my goodness, you're brave.
Yeah, yeah, well, because it's much easier for me to feel what I'm doing, and then again, I like I like to make stuff that is actually has a lot of details.
Mm,
And it's kind of interesting because so recently I made this cup holder
okay.
that will fit onto a baby stroller. My sister just got, well, not just, but 9 months ago she gave birth to a baby boy, and so I wanted to make this kind of cup holder so when they were out about they could have like maybe a Coca-Cola can or whatever in the
Mhm.
you know it was summer, so yeah.
Or
Wow.
maybe it looks like a Red Bull in your Instagram.
Yeah, there is also
Sometimes parents need Red Bull.
Yeah,
exactly.
many
and
times.
and and I couldn't, I mean, it was kind of too easy for me just to make like a cylinder with the right diameter to fit a can. So I'm always like, okay, I want to engrave the name on it. I want to make kind of an animal head or whatever to put on it, make it
Mhm.
kind of decorative. And that
Wow.
that kind of reflects a lot of what I'm doing, I think, that I'm trying to make it a bit decorative and a bit more interesting tactily, um,
Mhm.
which sometimes results in well, something that's not too good, but yeah,
Well,
because it's part of the learning process.
yeah, everybody has a has
I
a
think,
has a journey in
ev-
design for
yeah,
sure.
everybody's had prints that are not too good or
Yeah,
not that didn't turn out the way
Yes.
they
yeah,
Yes. The
expected.
the difference between a bad design series of designs and a good series of designs is literally like 1,000 hours worth of practice, and
yeah.
looks
No,
like you're definitely getting up there in it.
yeah,
It's, it's
exactly. No, no kidding. I mean, I just like my latest design that I did was this, and it was kind of the first print in place articulated model that I did. It was of a guide dog, and I actually meant that to be finished on the 14th of February for Valentine's for my girlfriend. And well, I think I just finished like on the 3rd or 4th of March or something like that. So yeah, it takes an insane amount of time, but I just can't help myself and stop, So
Yes. And this model, go ahead, Vicky, you had a question.
I'm just gonna alert Edis that I put a picture of your service dog that you made for your girlfriend up on the screen. And there is you can see that it starts off black and then switches to purple. Did you want to talk about why the inclusion of purple?
Actually, and so the first I wanted to make it in one color, but then I actually ran out of the color, the filament, and then I just put in the purple filament that I had. And first after that, I was like, hey, why didn't I actually think about this earlier? Because like internationally, the purple color is recognized as being like a sign of like disability. So I was like, well, I should have thought about this earlier. But yeah, so actually it is kind of a mistake, kind of a ran out of filament issue, kind of, well, I wanted to do this anyway thing. So
wow, a fortunate accident. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
And while we're
go ahead.
Sorry, Lawrence. While we're talking about the dog, I do want to let everybody know that you can download this model from Edis's accessible3d.io site or his Maker World site. You should be able to find the links in the YouTube description. Also, it does translate. Edis mentioned that he uses this whole build plate for like being able to feel the details. I didn't want to use my whole build plate, and also had a bamboo mini, so this was too big for it. But it does scale down to 50% size, and most of the important articulations still work, like his legs and whatnot. So it was, I've got to print this, and I was telling Edis before the show, it's been an absolute hit with my family, who should be immune to cool 3D prints by now.
Yes. Yeah. Somehow children just have, once they've grown up with it, it's like, oh yeah, everybody's got one of these. My daughter's the same way.
Well,
wow. And so now, can you talk to us a little bit about your process? I mean, that's a standing item there, and you designed that from scratch, or did you scan something in this?
So the way that I have two workflows that I use, and depending on what I want to do, I can use either one. So the first workflow that gives me absolute the most control is using OpenSCAD, which is this
slicer.
What?
A math-based slicer.
It's a text-based math CAD CAD program that allows me to do 3D modeling just by typing what I wish to do, basically. But what it's used for mostly is parametric modeling, and also it's good. I mean, it's not good for organic stuff. That's very difficult, but it's good for like boxes, spheres, and then you can add those primitives together to form an object. So for instance, right now I'm trying to make this tip for a cane, like the one that's in touch with the ground and that's constantly in touch with the ground. I'm trying to make that, and that I'm using OpenSCAD for, because it's basically, I can control it extremely precisely, like the diameter of the cylinder, how I can hollow it out, and do I want a chamfered edge, or it just gives me a whole lot of control over the design process, and that's basically just because then I just type like, okay, I need a cylinder. Well, then I basically write cylinder. And then I assign different dimensions on the XYZ axis to the cylinder, and OpenSCAD will create that. And that gives me a whole lot of um, control over the design process. So I've designed the cup holder that I talked about previously. I've designed that in OpenSCAD. I'm designing the cane parts, and I'm hoping to be finished with that soon, to have a completely designed, fully 3D printed and designed cane for the blind, designed by a blind person.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
How do you think
and
it's going to be different from any of the others out there, besides the fact that it's 3D printed?
yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how structurally sound it will be, because, I mean, cane for the blind, they take some serious
Beating.
beating.
Yep.
So it's going to be very. My hope is that it will be structurally sound, and that it has, I mean, the strength and integrity to be able to withstand, I mean, a couple of hours of day of having to, like, be like, go across the floor, pavement, mud, whatever, and also to be able to withstand, I mean, bashing the cane into poles and obstacles and whatnot. And my hope is that, I mean, I really want to show that, all right, you can do this. You can print it in whatever size you like. I mean, right now, in order to buy a cane, they have some fixed sizes. They are trying to accommodate everyone. But also, what is right now, I mean, there's a huge, like, debate in the blind and visually impaired community about, like, colored canes. So the standard cane is white, but some people would prefer the cane to be pink or whatever,
Yes.
And this would give you the flexibility to do that.
Wow.
But yeah, so I'm using OpenSCAD for that type of stuff. But once I want to do organic stuff, that's like the dog, or I've done some dragons and some other, like, organic stuff. That's where I utilize AI. So
Oh.
yeah, that what I do there is that I have AI lay down the foundation of what I wish to do. Then I have a sighted person help me to make make the design as a SVG file that can be imported into OpenSCAD, and manipulated that way. I mean, that is very, very, very difficult, and it's also because the AI process doesn't really, I mean, it doesn't give you the amount of control that you get from OpenSCAD, not at all.
I believe it.
So, but it is, I mean, that's the
Good starting
option.
place.
Yeah, that's the option that I have for doing organic stuff. So that's what I use.
Wow. And so with that process, it seems like the dog that you designed
Mhm.
probably took about 3 or 4 months to
Yeah,
go from.
yeah. I started back in I started in January. Hope to be finished on the 14th of
Okay,
February and finished, like, in March. And that
60
is like,
days. That's great. That's lightning fast, really, for you to get
yeah,
down to it.
yeah,
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
that's amazing. Wow. Okay, great, great, great.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you've got, now that you've got these two processes and things like that, you
Mhm.
know, what what are some of the next steps that you're trying to do? You talked about the cane. You talked about other adaptive types of things. Or are you looking to see if you can't help, looking to support the blind community mostly with your design, or are you?
I actually, so I basically want to bridge the gap between, so like, right now, when I like browse through models, a
Uh-huh.
lot of, like, models that other people created, a lot of um a lot of the models have vague or non-existent descriptions, kind of,
Oh, uh-huh.
and that's like, all right, so I'm looking at a Easter bunny egg with hinges,
Yes.
and then the description is um, like maybe something like add tree supports.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I understand, but how does it work after printing it? What's like, what do you do?
Oh, wow. I see. I see.
So and I'm actually, so yeah, I'm if you look at my website, I mean, I don't have added descriptions yet because um, you know, in the process of having to build the website, write a blog now and then, making a YouTube video, doing a post, doing designs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always get around to do it, but so I'm definitely guilty as charged of that as well. But I'm just trying to make other designers as well aware of the fact that you have the power to actually mm, really make a difference in. I mean, it's cool to make a flexi dragon. It's cool to make flexible stuff and all that, but you actually have the power to make something really cool and really meaningful and really useful. Um, and I'm also trying to like inspire people who are. I see a lot of posts like, oh, I don't think I'm too good enough to do 3D printing,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 3D designing. I mean, heck yeah, you are.
Yes.
Um, so
No
so
doubt.
so yeah, I'm trying to inspire blind and visual impaired people, inspire other designers, and inspire people wanting to get into the 3D world. And yeah,
Wow. I mean, so far so good, I would say.
yeah,
You've had two articles and worldwide publications. So I,
And you get a lot of positive comments on Reddit, which not
yeah,
everybody can say that.
oh my goodness, wow.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
superpower right there.
So, on the subject of meaningful designs, one of the commenters asked if you were familiar with this project yet. 3D Printy has a public domain Braille training
No,
set of models. Okay,
no,
we will send you a link so you can check that out. And I
please
did throw
do.
it up on the screen for anybody who wants to take a look. And I will throw a link into the chat too.
Yeah, that's awesome. But
Absolutely.
no, I wasn't aware of that. It's yeah, I'm currently experimenting with making um, the best braille on 3D printing because, well, it it's quite demanding for even for a Bambolab printer to make like nice braille.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to figure out how that can be improved, and yeah, so
Most certainly. And so have you when you make your prints, I mean the first thing that I did is I tried to get the smallest nozzle opening that I possibly can. Have you done any modifications to your bamboo or no?
yeah, actually, I just recently, I've been concentrating a lot on designing and printing, but I
Hmm.
just recently, I mean, I feel comfortable enough now with that that I can safely explore the area of designing and just basic printing in more depth. So now I've started tinkering a bit more, like trying to change out the nozzle, trying to, you know, um, fool around with the printer,
Hmm.
like or, open up the AMS completely, that kind of stuff.
Yep,
Just
you teach people how to unclog their EMS, right? I'm
yeah,
putting that YouTube video up on the screen right now.
yeah, exactly. I want to show that. I mean, of course, I want to. If there are other blind people wanting to 3D print, I mean, 3D printing and designing is obviously a very, very visually demanding trade, or whatever you'd like to call that.
Hmm.
So I'm just trying to be as like precise as possible when when I'm doing these demonstration videos. And actually, tomorrow for you, today for me, I'm uploading another YouTube video where I show how to change the complete hot end. So yeah, I want to change to 0.2 millimeter nozzle to try and see what kind of braille will come out of that. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting.
I will say, yeah. Yeah,
So on the subject, sorry, Lawrence, on the subject of Reddit, we do have a commenter who created a Reddit sub for blind makers. So we'll have to.
Yeah, I'm a part of that. Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay, right.
Oh, so he's here or
he's here? Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, shout out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, you have, I think that you've probably overcome you've overcome some of the things that most 3D printing enthusiasts don't let themselves venture into, which is now making modifications and changing things and fixing your machine. A lot of people get super stuck and get out of 3D printing once there's a mechanical problem. So great for you for going through that. Vicky and I started 3D printing about 10 years ago, in which that was the only, well, for me, it was the only choice, was to continuously fiddle with it. You get 4 or 5 prints, and then you have to start modifying or fixing or replacing parts and that kind of thing. So
I'm really happy.
Put a lot of people out.
I'm really happy that for me at least, I mean, Bamboo has really made the barrier of entry extremely low, and that's due to all the so I can monitor the printing process from my iPhone, from their app, which is accessible, partly accessible enough. But I mean, their Bamboo Studio Slicer is really, oh God, I mean, that's that's a terrible terrible program accessibility wise. So I've had to do a lot of skating around that in order to be able to control. So for instance, I'm not able to rotate or scale or drag or work with multiple objects, anything like that in Bamboo Studio. So I had to try and figure out other ways to do that. And I'm still, I mean, it's kind of a work in progress thing all the time, but so it's kind of, and this is like the story of my life all the time. It's kind of, so on my computer, I use one screen reader. On my iPhone, I use another screen reader. On my, I have to use minimally 3 or 4 different programs in order to get the optimal result. So I use Bamboo Studio, I use Prusa Slicer, I use Astro Print. I use,
So talk to us a little bit about what it means for a website or for an interface to be accessible for you, because I'm not familiar.
So basically, when I use a screen reader, I don't know, maybe you can I don't know, maybe you can hear it.
I can hear it.
Yeah. And it, let me just slow down the speed a little bit. I don't know if you could hear that. It says stream this to your audience.
Yes.
And then at the end, it said that it was a button. It said it in Danish, but if my interface and screen reader were in English, all of it, it would say stream this to your audience and then button, which would indicate to me that this is a button you can click on. And that's basically what you need to do in order to make an interface or a program accessible. That is labeling the different elements that you can interact with, such as like buttons and other elements,
So the button, like for example, I can see when we use Bamboo Slicer, there's a series you spoke about dragging and expanding, making things smaller and
Yeah.
orienting them and things like that. So those are buttons with pictures on them. And what you're saying is that they need to be buttons that have words associated with them
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. So when we talk about accessibility, we talk about alt text, which is basically an input for, I mean, it's not like visible text that you can see, but it's text that translate to a screen reader that tells the screen reader, all right, this is the slice button, this is the rotate button, this is, and so it reads that aloud without you having to actually see the word rotate.
Huh.
And that's basically what you need to do. Like right now, when I use Bamboo Studio, I've had to have a person with sight sit beside me and tell me, okay, what am I clicking here? All right, the 0.2 there, that means that's the layer height. All right, the 15, the number 15 there means that it's 15% infill, blah blah blah, like that. And so I have to remember that some of it is accessible, but not. I mean, it would fail every accessibility test that you could throw at it. So
Right. Well,
um,
yeah, I see what you're saying. That the different points that are on there. There's no alternate text on there, and so it really only it excludes a lot of people from being able to use it.
yeah, especially if you don't have sight, then
Yeah.
yes. But again, I mean, I understand where. Well, I'm always very much against the idea that accessibility should be kind of an afterthought. But
Yeah.
but I still understand where a company like Bamboo or Prusa or whoever comes from, because what is the likelihood that a blind person would actually take up this? I mean, I understand that, and I'm not saying that it's okay, not at all,
No.
but I'm just saying that I can see where they're coming from in terms of that. So, but yeah, I'm also trying to do that actually with all this. I really want to. I have a video planned where I'll do like a complete walkthrough of the Bamboo X1 and do like an in-depth review where I hope I can reach some of the Bamboo team somewhere, because I really want to. This doesn't really require that you create a whole new slicer. I mean, it does require that you do some modifications back end, but not
It doesn't
overly.
seem extensive.
No.
No, not at all.
I did when I was researching for this episode, I did find that there's multiple issues logged for Prusa Slicer for accessibility. So there is an audience out there looking for these kind of features.
Yeah, and actually Prusa, they've been real. I mean, I commented because right now I'm researching my second printer. Yeah, I'm there already.
Not surprised. Not surprised at all.
And I have to find the right printer. I have to convince my girlfriend where it should be. And actually I reached out to Prusa and they were very like forthcoming about I was asking them on Instagram like if they knew how accessible their slicer was, and they were very forthcoming about, well, please contact us at the support mail and we'll do what we can. And I really like that. So, but I'm still waiting to see what Bamboo will release. I must say that I'm kind of a fanboy, but yeah.
While we're on, I keep running over you tonight, Lawrence.
No,
I'm sorry.
No. Too much caffeine tonight for me.
Just on the subject of Prusa Slicer, Mitch 3D, which Edis, if you've ever seen a gentleman who has gone viral, well, if you've ever heard of a gentleman who's gone viral with a backpack printer that he takes to festivals, that's Mitch who's asking this question. He was asking, how do you confirm the model orientation in Prusa Slicer?
Yeah.
Is that where you have to ask?
No, actually not. I mean, should I try to share my screen and
sure,
because, because let me just speed up. You'll be able to hear my screen reader, but it'll sound like gibberish because I'll speed it up. And let me see here. Let me just see where the. Oh, can you see? Can you see my screen already?
I was waiting to add it to the stage when you.
Oh.
When you are you ready for it?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Okay. We have a fractal of the StreamYard screen.
Okay, so you can see the. Okay, well, hold on. Can you see the Prusa slicer here?
It's to a white screen right now.
Okay, hold on. It's probably just loading.
That was another thing I think I ran into the Prusa slicer issues was someone suggested a tone or a bing when the slicing finished.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know?
No, it doesn't really do that. But are you able to see it right now, or?
No. Did you share your entire screen? Oh, okay. We're back to StreamYard.
Now you can see that. Okay, it's probably because it's my Prusa slicer is on my desktop. Hold on, let me just. Okay. Can you see the?
I see Google.
Can you see the?
Here we go. We got the Astro print.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that. Let me just close down this. And hold on. I just want to close down the Prusa slicer. Okay, here we go. And now you can see the Astro print interface, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So let me just talk a little bit about this. So AstroPrint is one of the slicers. It's kind of a like printer management cloud-based software where you can connect your printers. You can send prints to your printer and monitor it and do some slicing. And the reason why I use this is because it is accessible. And I'll tell you, like what you said before, the person who asked about the print orientation. So I'll just show you quickly what this can do. I'll go to my design library. I have a few models here. And I'll take this. This was one of my first functional designs that I did in OpenSCAD. Can you see it on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So this was one of my first models, functional models that I did using OpenSCAD, which is this iPhone case for an iPhone SE model. And so what I can do here is, well, I'm actually going to slow down the screen reader again, because as you can hear, it will say edit, it will say link, menu, and then edit. So I can hit enter here, and right now it will say which printer type it is. Unfortunately, they don't work with Bamboo printers. So what I have to do is I usually upload the model that I'm working with to the AstroPrint interface, because I can interact and manipulate the model here. And I've also started working with Prusa because that is actually it's more accessible than Bamboo Studio, but less accessible than AstroPrint. But for instance, here you'll be able to see move. Can you see the move, the scale, the rotate, those options? And what it does here is actually those options for me, they're labeled, and they're also made as a heading, which means that I would be able to press the keyboard, the letter H, because in my screen reader, that gives the instruction to the screen reader to search for any headings on the website that I'm currently viewing. So if I press the letter H, it will say move, and then it will say that it's a heading. Then I can press H again, scale, and then it tells me again that it's a heading, rotate. So so this is what I mean with labeling the buttons and making that accessible. So what I would do here is, let's say I want to figure out what the best print orientation is. I'm not able to, especially not when I'm working with a completely new model. I would have to print it out first to feel how it will come out on the build plate, to feel where the supports are, if any. And from there, I would have to print it again, where I now have the understanding of what is happening. That is if I'm doing this independently. But what I can do as well, I have a small messenger group of sighted individuals that help me, and then I can send over the STL to them and say, hey, can you tell me what the best print orientation is for this? And they will say, okay, if you rotate it 90 degrees on the X axis. And then with that knowledge, I can go back to Astro Print and hit the rotate option. And now you can see that I have the X, Y, Z coordinates. Can you see that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the cool thing about this is that it's those options are within edit boxes, which means that I can use again another shortcut in the screen reader. I can just hit the letter E for edit.
0 degrees edit spin box 0.
And then could you hear that? It says 0 degrees. And if I just use the up arrow,
0 degrees, X degrees masculine ordinal.
X degrees. So the first one is the X coordinate, and
90.
I can write 90, hit enter, and hopefully it would be rotated.
Yeah.
And so once that process is done, I will be able to save the plate.
Save, enter. Link save plate. A, V, enter.
Hit there, and
Design name, edit, paste.
I can give the design name, save it, and download it, import it into Bamboo Studio, slice it, and print it. So that's why this is. I mean, if I had, now you can see that the printer that is connected to this to my account here is a Cobra Anycubic. If I had an Anycubic Cobra printer, I would just be able to slice it and send it directly from here to the printer. But let's say I was just I'm working with this on my own. None of the people in the messenger group are available for me. What I would do is I would rotate the model 90, 180, and 270 degrees on the X and Y axis. Take screenshots from every angle, upload it to ChatGPT or Claude AI, and have a description there, and try to get an input from the AI as how the print orientation is optimal.
Wow.
What you think? That's one of your YouTube videos. That was actually one of the things that completely blew my mind, Edis, when you're like asking ChatGPT to describe it for you.
Yeah, and I mean, we can. I don't know if you have. Let me just. Let me just. I'm just going to try to take a quick screenshots so you could hear. I'm gonna hop to ChatGPT, and I can upload. Can you see the ChatGPT interface?
Yes.
We sure can.
Great. So now I've uploaded the latest screenshot, and I would be able to say, please describe the 3D model in as much detail as possible. Do not describe the Astro Print user interface. And then we can see what it will say.
ChatGPT or static icon. ChatGPT.
So I'm just getting messages that ChatGPT is working.
Overscript article.
And
The 3D model show.
okay, so now the description is done, and I'll just start by having my screen reader read it. So let's hear what it'll say.
Article. Overscript of 06 ChatGPT. The 3D model shown in Astro Print appears to be a tall, barrel object with a vertical orientation on the build plate. It is a thin, elongated rectangular shape with a consistent thickness throughout its length. The model has several small cutouts or holes arranged along its length, possibly serving as functional design elements such as mounting points, ventilation, or aesthetic features.
So as you can hear, I mean, we can just try.
Code your map. God's star map. Starlink star blaze coach map. Retype your
Oh.
blaze coach enter.
Wild.
We had a- oh, there it is.
Map. Enter.
So as you can hear, I mean, it will describe pretty accurately what it is, and I can hear the orientation here is totally not suited for printing. Well, if let's say I know that I'm creating an iPhone case, and if it says it like this, I mean, if this was the first time I would do this, and I tried to get a description of the model, I would think immediately, all right, with my current knowledge of like printing orientations, I would think, all right, it sounds like not the most optimal printing orientation for an iPhone case. I would think that it would be better to lay it flat on the build plate rather than having it stand up. And what I would be able to do here as well is I would, so when I'm designing something, let's say, okay, let's just say that this is my first my first design of the iPhone case, and I'm not sure how it turned out. I would ask ChatGPT, what do you think the application for this object is? And so I would try having the AI guess at, I mean, at what the use is, because if it says something like it could be a protective case for a phone, well, then I know, like, okay, I'm on the right track, kind of, in my design. So yeah, but it's it's kind of it's difficult, and it takes an insane amount of time, but I love this process.
Well, Edis, you know, one of the big things about artificial intelligence that frustrates me and kind of keeps me away from it is developing the prompts. How long did it take you to figure out what to exclude when you're asking ChatGPT about your
ignore the AstroPrint screen?
Exactly.
AstroPrint functions.
It took me quite a while, because the first prompt was like, I just put in describe, and then it started just, you see the AstroPrint interface. There's something that looks like a 3D model being manipulated. You can see the XYZ axis, blah blah blah. So it took me quite a few times for this to get to a point where it's usable for me. And actually recently I talked to a guy called Troy, who is he's not blind, but he has a visual impairment, but he's a software developer, and he developed a program that can be used from your prompt, from the command prompt in Windows or Linux or whatever you use, where basically it will. So right now you can see that there are a lot of steps in this. I mean, I have to design the model using OpenSCAD or AI. Then I have to upload it to a slicer where I can manipulate, take screenshots, have AI describe, reiterate descriptions again, blah blah blah. You see, there are many steps in this, but this guy made it so that you can basically do all of this from your command prompt, and it would automatically, when you give the command of info, it would take screenshots and send the screenshots automatically to Google's Gemini, and that will return the descriptions to you. So suddenly, many of these steps are eliminated. So yeah, but it it is a tedious process, but yeah, it is what's possible at the moment. I want to explore the possibility. I know there are like these tactile graphic displays where you can kind of design something and then you can feel it with your hands in like 2.5D before printing it out. And I'm really curious about testing that.
When you first started talking, I thought that you already had one of those.
No, unfortunately, it's kind of that technology is unfortunately extremely expensive. And by the way, that's yet another great potential of 3D printing. It's that, I mean, when you do assistive tech or products, they're usually extremely expensive because it's a small market. There's no economic like gain, or it's very small, which makes it extremely hard to afford for just normal everyday people. Whereas if you could somehow make some alternatives using 3D printing, that will really break down the barrier to an accessible world. I mean, I know that's kind of grandiose to say, but yeah.
No, it's not grandiose at all. To me, that's part of the beauty of the technology that we're using. When about 10 years ago, there was a braille there was a braille tool that came out that would be able to change the characters under your fingers so that you wouldn't have to move your fingers in order to read. The braille moved under your fingers. Now that device was like $800 at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this seems like it's 3D printable. It wasn't. I didn't do it myself, but I've seen illustrations of just what you're talking about. Something that seems very straightforward and very doesn't seem to be ridiculously complicated to make, but are very expensive nonetheless. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. If you just, I mean, take one of the cheapest canes for the blind. I mean, yeah, I understand that they were created using aluminum and whatnot. But some of the cheapest cost like around $100, and I mean that's not a whole lot money for me, but some people it might be. And if you can have some files ready where you can print it out and it's actually robust enough, why not? I mean, well, yeah.
And I was thinking very much about the concept of robust in 3D printing. Some of the things that the community has come out with that are adaptive or supportive of people with disabilities also had significantly less durability in them. That's one of the things I was curious about with as you were designing things. The robustness actually sometimes can change the form factor completely from what you might see from aluminum to go into 3D printing. It might be bulkier, it might be any number of things.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it will hopefully soon stand its test, because I expect to put it into use. I want to create an entire cane, and then I want to put it to use. I want to see what is actually possible. Currently I'm just printing with PLA and PETG and some carbon reinforced PLA and PETG, which is cool and all that. But how robust and resistant will it be to like everyday use? And I want to like try to print in ASA or PPA or whatever. There are many different materials out there, and some of them are more suited for one type of application than others.
I I
Then
definitely agree. Go ahead, Vicky. Yeah.
you can marry your love of being outdoors and your love of 3D printing when you're testing it too.
Actually, so this summer I'm planning a like a small trip on the Camino again, but that's for the Danish Blind Youth. So it's like society is kind of a nonprofit, um, and I actually hoped that I could be finished with an entire like a finished product at that moment where I would take that 3D printed cane on such a journey because yeah, that would really, I mean, that would really solidify the fact that, okay, this is actually robust enough to be able to withstand walking in the Pyrenees and, yeah, being used as a, uh, you know, for stability and whatnot. I mean, yeah,
Oh wow. And
that would be cool.
and just so you know, if by happenstance you're able to develop durability kind of characteristics and through your research and your efforts, I think that everyone, sighted or sighted or not, would benefit from learning how to make our own prints more robust
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, no,
So,
I agree with you 100% because I see a lot of questions about that. Like, okay, how do I make this flower pot holder watertight? How do I make this hinge more structurally sound? How do I, that kind of stuff? And definitely, I'm definitely experimenting with, okay, what's the strength in this compared to, I mean, when you print it vertically, when you have it laid flat on the build plate, I mean, when you use this amount of walls compared to the, I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
Andrew and
Uh,
Phil's, et cetera, et cetera. Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
And
Wow.
yeah, it's so, and because, I mean, yeah, when you use like one of the canes, it's very, I mean, that has to, what my cane tip at the moment, the one that I'm using, is able to like hold out for 3 months. So I have to change it every three months. I mean, if it's possible to make one that can hold for like 2 months, I mean, that will be great. That will be an amazing application for
Wow.
3D printing. So yeah.
Oh, well, good, good. Well, I think that is very much achievable. Definitely achievable. Just
Yeah. Yeah,
a
I
little
think so
bit.
too. I
Yes.
think so
Well,
too.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to catch you up a little bit on the chat. You had perfect timing. Someone had asked if any AI technologies help with the accessibility, and you went into that naturally to show how you use ChatGPT. And then
Yeah.
Rusty, who we talked about earlier with the Reddit group, he
Mhm.
also uses AI tools to have it describe his printer screen, and he
Yeah.
enjoys the hack of telling it to ignore the interface.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can get a lot of interesting descriptions sometimes, and I don't know how many times I've had a description. I remember like when I when I tried to make when I did the cup holder and the clamp that
Mhm.
that I used to attach it to the baby stroller.
Mhm.
I so I had my sister measure the circumference of the baby stroller, and it was
Mhm.
12.5 centimeters. And
Mhm.
and when I was doing the design process, I instead of using the circumference, I typed the the diameter in
Mhm.
instead as
Yeah.
being 12.5 centimeters, and I
Yeah.
just couldn't understand why, because this was a fairly simple object to make, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't recognize that this is a cylindrical holder with a snap clamp feature because yeah, the clamp was so huge. So
Ah,
yeah, it was Yeah, it was quite funny and frustrating.
Yeah. Wow, that is what. Well, math is everywhere, so you had to do a little conversion on
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. Are there any other slicing tips or things that you use in your
Um,
practice?
well, actually, there is one. I haven't used it too much, but there is another online slicer called Kirimoto, Kirimoto,
Mhm.
which is also very, very accessible. But again, I haven't used it too much because sometimes it's, even though I know there are better workflows and there are better ways of doing some of the things that I do, it's just I finally found something that works. Let me just stick with that for sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, so, but
You're
yeah,
like,
as I don't know if you were able to see that on the Astro print. I'm not sure if you can do supports,
mhm.
um,
I didn't see it
which
on
is
there.
kind of essential for some prints at least. So that's obviously not good. But yeah.
Less than optimal
Um,
for sure.
um, Also, I would really, when I started using Bamboo Studio, the auto orientation feature
Mhm.
was accessible to me. Then a couple of updates later, it wasn't, and
Oh
still
my
is
goodness.
not, which was
Mhm.
a great feature for me. So
Oof.
I hope that will return at some point.
Yeah, they definitely need to bring that back. The
Yeah.
accessibility aspect of it back for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm just playing around with slicing and um, of course all the many details that are
Mhm.
in 3D printing, from designing, tinkering, troubleshooting, yeah, you name it.
Mm.
There's
Yes,
always something to learn.
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any questions, Vicky? Any more questions?
Um, I'm good. I do want to say to Edis that I think this has been a very thought-provoking episode, and I can see musings in the chat, where people are talking about like, oh, I need to go back and look and see like how I'm describing my models or how well am I doing my alt text images and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
heard musings about text-based slicers or additional AI tools. So it seems like you've really gotten gears turning, and it definitely in my brain for sure.
I'm so happy to hear that. I mean, if there are any Orca slicer users out there and any with some technical aspects, I mean, I did
Oh,
ask out in the Reddit and also Facebook if someone would consider, because it's open source, to somehow
yeah,
make it more accessible. I'm kind of thinking
right.
because Denmark is luckily very has has many like foundations and grants that you can apply for, and I'm actually thinking somehow to, I don't know, I really want to push this forward in some way. So I'm thinking about kind of applying for a grant to maybe make a slicer more accessible. So because I understand the aspect of just using your spare time is not maybe always the most viable. So if there's kind of a small economic incentive or something, yeah, and yeah, and I hope that, I mean, I want to keep all my models and all the designs that I create. I want to keep them free because yeah, that's I think that's, I don't know. It's kind of, you remember when podcasting like came out like for the first time, and for many years it was free of charge and still is. But
Mhm.
it, podcasts have also started to be like monetized, and you have to pay for episodes, and that's all good and well. But I feel kind of like it's coming to the 3D printing world as well. The more the more like consumer based it becomes, more affordable to everyone. So that's also a good thing. But I want to keep my models for free, and yeah.
A quick clarification. Did you said Bamboo Studio, the auto orientation that got taken away in a version?
Yeah, well, no, it's still there, but it's just not. I mean, usually before
No,
I would
okay.
be able to hit the shift plus R to make it auto orient, but for some reason it doesn't work for me. And
Okay,
maybe
so
it's
it's
because it's clashing with the screen reader or something. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
Wow.
yeah, I manage very well, I think, and
You definitely
it's
do.
it's definitely a very very enjoyable process and hobby. And yeah, I can't really. I'm thinking 3D printing almost in every aspect, everything that I do. It's kind of, hey, why don't we make a 3D version of this, or why don't we make this accessible with 3D? I mean, yeah, like I had like a lot of um, traction or discussions about, like, I made this kind of like escape plan that
Mhm.
I did a prototype of that for my workplace, and where you could do it with like braille and normal writing, and just so you could feel where to go or what to do in case of fire or something like that. And
Mhm.
and I remember I put it up on LinkedIn, and I was like, "Come on, guys! I mean, it can't be real that a blind person has to make this. I mean, come on."
Why hasn't somebody else already thought of this problem and solved it? Yeah.
Yeah,
All
exactly. I
these brains
mean,
out here.
And I
yeah,
think I found a picture of that on Instagram. Yes, in
yeah,
your emergency
yeah, exactly.
tactile
Wow.
emergency plan. And you
Yeah,
also did a little map of your town too, like a 3D.
yeah, exactly. And that's actually, yeah. I want to you can share that as well. It's kind of, it's an online tool called touchmapper.org, I
Hmm.
think, where you basically just go in and type in your address, and then it will use the Open Street View to kind of make an STL from that, which is, yeah, it's kind of very very cool. And then you can, I haven't worked too much with it just yet. I just briefly tested it out, but you would be able to, print out a map of your neighborhood, and if you have, I mean, in my case, I'm not able to. Well, maybe I would be able to manipulate it. I think actually, if I maybe have someone make an SVG for me and import it into OpenSCAD, but you would be able to, make the STL, and then, yeah, you could modify it, add text, add Braille, whatever. Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow.
All
But
right.
what a great
Just
idea.
a couple more shout outs in the chat. Gerari from Gerari 3D says thank you. He's learned a lot from you today. And Rusty Perez also is thanking you as well.
Thanks. Thank you guys. I'm happy that you're joined, and I remember a couple of months ago, I did like a workshop for my workplace. And it's kind of fear inducing for me, I think, to talk as a blind person about something so visual, but I think I'm
Ah,
getting there where it's possible. So
I think you rocked it.
yeah,
so
I do
yeah,
too. Definitely.
And
Definitely.
especially at
In the
it's like
morning.
2:20 your
2:20.
time now in the morning.
yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I think, yeah, I hope it made sense from not just like a blind perspective, but also, I mean, maybe there's something you can use and utilize as well. So yeah, thank you so much.
For
No problem.
sure.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Edis, for giving us so much of your time. So wrapping up the show like we usually do is we remind you that How Would You Slice That is live on Tuesdays that are prime numbers. Our next prime number is going to be a while too. It's going to be April, not October, April 29th. So hopefully we'll see some of you back in the chat and joining us. But even if you can't make it, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being so engaged in the chat and helping us make Edis feel welcome. And I guess, yeah, you have any parting words, Lawrence?
Thank you also for coming so much. Looking forward to the April 29th show, and seeing you all in a couple weeks.
And just as a reminder, one last little thing. You can find out more about Edis and his work at accessible3d.io. And he also has this great YouTube channel that he is updating pretty regularly recently, and goes over, he has short videos on his process, and he also has a long in-depth video on his process as well. So you can dive as deep as you want. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye.
You too.